Angel. Angel. No, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Let's pronounce it right. Angelology.
Angelology.
Study of
The study of spirits.
angels,
Angels, spirits, devils,
saints,
demons.
Satan, and what?
Satan, demons.
Okay, what's the next category?
Uh, anthropology.
Anthropology.
The study of man. Homogeology.
What?
Homogeology.
It's not homogeology. It's not milk. It's not milk. It's hamartiology.
Homogeology. The study of sin. Ecclesiology.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, there's one more.
You got to take care of sin, what you got to do.
Okay. Do what? Soteriology, the study of the church.
No.
Salvation, no, okay. And there's ecclesiology, study of the church, right? Ecclesiology, study of the church. And eschatology, the study of the end times.
Okay. Ecclesiology. Study of the church. Eschatology. Study of the end times. Those are the 10 doctrines of Scripture. All right? Okay. Now we in theology proper, the existence of God. And we've been talking about the arguments for God's existence. And the first one is the cosmological argument. Okay, that's argument from what? Argument from cause to effect, or an effect. I'm printing about nothing. And we got people watching from on the internet, so you'll have to bear with me here. From cause to effect, which means that every effect must have an adequate what? The universe is an effect which demands an adequate what? Adequate cause. Okay, so it could not just happen. Okay, it had to have an adequate cause. And we know that cause is God. Okay? And we see this in Psalms 19, 1 to 6, Romans 1, 18 through 21, I believe. 20? Okay. All right. So, every effect must have an adequate cause. Every pew that you're sitting on had to have a pew maker. Your pew just couldn't come into existence. And those who would hold to the Big Bang and say, you know, something exploded and made the earth, but then who made the materials that exploded? So no matter how far back you go, you run into God. See, these are what we call rational argument. It just reason. It just makes sense that if you have a car, it assumes there's a car maker somewhere, right? We don't rationally believe that the car made itself, okay? And so every effect must have an adequate cause. And your grandkids will come to you, well, mom, grandpa, grandmother, if every effect must have an adequate cause, and God caused everything, well, who made God? All right. See, now y'all becoming theologians now. All right. I'm just kind of reviewing before I give you too much stuff. I don't want to overload you and your computer crash. There are three types of causes. It's not in your notes, so you have to write this down. Caused by another. Number two, self-caused. And uncaused cause. All right. We know the universe couldn't cause itself. In order for it to do that, it had to be prior to what it is. It had to exist prior to itself, which just don't make any sense. Right? I mean, with God. So in order for God to be caused, there had to be someone prior to him who made him. Right? That don't make any sense. Huh? In order for someone to make God, someone had to be prior to God in order to cause him. So we can cancel that one out. Self-cause is a contradiction. Nobody can cause itself. Right? Cancel that out. So the only one we got left is what? Uncaused cause. God just is. Okay? Now, the teleological argument on the next page is an argument from, I'm on the second page. Yeah, find it. I'm on the existence of God. Where y'all at? I'm on the existence of God. Roman number 4. The teleological argument. You don't have that? This is an argument from design to a designer. Argument from design to a designer. There's design in this universe. Okay? The human body is one of the most complex organisms. All right? And yet, we wouldn't think that the human body did not have a designer. But some do probably, yeah, the evolutionists do. Okay. The seasons shows design. Return to Acts 14:17 in your text, in your Bible. Acts 14:17. If you don't need some clarification, whatever, please ask the question. I know some of this is new to some of you. It says that God has not left himself without a witness, in that he has given good and gave you rains from heaven and fruitful seasons. And this corresponds to Genesis 8:22. Acts 14:17. So the seasons, notice, the seasons are giving witness there's a God. The text says he has not left himself without what? A witness. Right? And that he did good and gave you rains from heaven and fruitful what? Seasons. All right? And Genesis 8:22 tells you the seasons. Go back to the first book of the Bible. Genesis 8:22. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold, heat, summer, and winter. Day and night shall not cease. So you have fall, winter, spring, and summer. These seasons show design. They show up every year. Don't they? I have on a iWatch, and this thing is fascinating. I don't know all the intricate details of this thing, but I can answer my phone through this thing. You know, it's amazing what the mind of man can do. Now, how likely it is to watch design itself? Very unlikely. So this watch tells me that it had to have a designer. The universe shouts a designer. Did you know that they say the earth spins about 10,000 miles per hour on its axis? Now, if you travel 200 miles an hour, you'd be the racetrack. And scientists say the earth is turning on its axis at 10,000 miles per hour. And yet we ain't dizzy. Isn't that amazing? Design. The stars, the moon, the sun shouts design. And when you go out at night and look at the stars, you're looking millions and millions and millions of miles away with your natural eye. And those little twinkle, twinkle little stars up there, that little dot up there you see in the sky, each one of these are bigger than the earth. The sun. You can put 1 billion Earths inside the sun. Now, I didn't go up there to try to figure all this stuff. I don't tell you what they say. It's amazing how God designed this thing. And he put the sun and the moon where it's supposed to be. Right? The sun, the moon, at the distance it's supposed to be. Because they tell us if the moon was to tilt, sun was to tilt 1/trillionth of an inch closer to the earth, we'd all burn up. And if it tilted 1/trillionth of an inch away from the earth, it'd be too cold, we'd freeze to death. And yet God had it at the right place. That's design. It's amazing. Okay? Now, the next argument is anthropology, the argument for man, creation of man. Every human being knows by intuition that God exists. Listen, very carefully. There are absolutely, positively no atheists. None. But there are people who say they're atheists. There are people who act like they're atheists. But there are no atheists. You've never seen an atheist. You've never heard an atheist talk. You've never had an atheist write a book saying there is no God. There are none. There are people who claim to be atheists without God. Now, why do I say there are no atheists? That's why what the Psalms 14:1 and 53:1 says, the fool has said in his heart, he tells himself, there is no God. The fool. Interesting. In Hebrew, it's the word naval. In Greek, it's the word moros. Moros. Now, any word in English look like that word? What is it? Moron, that's what they are. Because a moron wouldn't believe in spite of all the evidence. He said, I don't believe it. That's a fool. Isn't it? You got all the evidence that's proving or showing you a certain thing. You're saying, I still don't believe it. That's a thick-headed non-believer. And why do I say there are no atheists? Because the way God created man. Turn to Romans chapter 1. Verse 18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and righteousness of men, notice, who hold the truth, who hold down the truth, suppress the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which is known about God is evident within them, for God made it what? Clear to them. Y'all see that? Now, that tells me that every being that God ever made is religious. There's an internal witness, there's God. What they do is they suppress the truth. They hold it down. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Because God made it what? Clear to them. The devil is a religious being. He is. He's an angel of light. The devil goes to church every Sunday. Because that's where you'll never look for him. You always look for him down at the dope house, at the crack house, at the hoe house. But you'll never look for him at the church house. He ain't down at the crack house, at the hoe house. He got demons down there, got them folk. They already, yeah. Devil come to church with a Bible on his own. And can quote scripture. Man is a moral and intelligent being. He must have had a maker who was also moral and intelligent. Man's moral nature, religious instinct, conscience, emotional nature argue for the existence of God. These characteristics come from God because man was made in the image of God. Acts 17:9. Tremendous passage. Acts 29, I'm sorry. Acts 17:29. I'm going to start at verse 26. And he made from one every nation of mankind to live on all the earth, face of the earth. Y'all see that? He made from what? One man. Which means to live where? Where? On the earth. Please tell our government there is no life on Mars. They're spending $10 billion trying to find roofers for their life on Mars. Give me $1 million. I can show you in the Bible there's no life on Mars. And there's no human being prior to Adam. He made from Adam every race to live on the face of the what? Earth. Determining their what? Your time, your birth date. Write that down somewhere in your margin. Your birth date and your death date. It's already been determined by God. Now, God gave you your birth date, but he didn't give you your death date. Ain't that something? And the boundaries of that what? Habitation. That's your hometown. And your family. Ain't nothing in God's universe happening by accident. Everything has been predetermined by God. That we should seek God and perhaps grope after him and find him through, though he's not far from each one of us. In him we live, move, and have our being, even as some of your poets have said, for we are his offspring. Being then the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the divine nature is like gold or silver or stone, or an image formed by art and the thought of man. In him we live, move, and have our being. Without God, we don't exist. Now back to your notes, letter C, on the antinomial logic. It is generally agreed that all men have some moral standards. These standards may vary among individuals and cultures. However, all men do not have the same moral codes. Where man is his own lawgiver and where a moral warp exists in his soul, we would not expect the law of God to emerge unsullied in this system of ethics. Yet all men have moral what? Everybody, the most primitive of society, have laws. And I frequently use, and I use it, I'm going to probably use it until I die. There should never be a society of cannibals. This is a contradiction. Have you heard of cannibals? They exist. But it's a contradiction. What do cannibals do? Eat who? Eat what? People. Right? So there should never be a society of cannibals. You should have a cannibal. That's correct. But when you say they're cannibals, that's a contradiction. So if you eat people, then why hadn't y'all eaten each other? Because they got a moral code within their society, where it's against their law to eat each other. So where does man, even how warped it is, man still has a moral code. It gives a sense of morality. Idea of right and wrong comes from God. All men are conscious of an objective moral law. All of us. Now notice here, Back to letter C, the general agreed that all men have some moral standards, and these standards may vary among individual cultures, and however, all men do not have the same moral code. Where man is his own lawgiver and where moral warp exists in his soul, we now expect the law of God should emerge unsullied in his system of ethics, yet all men have moral notions. Note, some deny moral standards, but although some steal, none enjoy being robbed. Though some lie, none enjoy being deceived. Though some murder, none enjoy being murdered. The thief don't like to be stolen from. Right? Letter D, conscience and emotions to some degree exist in all men. Any man who violates his conscience is oppressed by feelings of guilt. Men have a conscious concept of right and wrong. A stone or a tree does not have guilt. An animal has no real guilt. Yet God has endowed man with a conscience as a reminder that he's not mere animal, but a moral creation made into the image of God. Okay. Turn to Romans 2:14. When Gentiles who do not have the law do by nature the things of the law, these not having the law or a law unto themselves, in that they show that the law, workers of the law, are written on their conscience, bearing witness, either accusing them or defending them. The conscience is that legal attorney that God has placed within you. Okay. When you feel bad, when you do something wrong, the conscience makes you feel bad, right? When you do good, it don't bother you. Right? Now, of course, you can have your conscience seared, according to 1 Timothy, where it don't bother you at all. You just go so far, and it's don't have no sense of emotions or of guilt. But man has that conscience. He has that legal attorney within him that was put there by his creator. Now, letter E, does the anthropological argument conclusively prove the existence of God? The theological explanation of morals in man does not prove the existence of God, but rather show the reasonableness to conclude that an infinitely great, intellectual, and moral being has endowed man with such a nature. God is not really trying to prove himself to nobody. He ain't. When you open the Bible, it says, in the beginning, Elohim created heaven and earth. That's it. As soon as you know that. He ain't trying to prove himself. Okay. God exists. And one thing about God, you can deny him, but you can't dismiss it. He just is. Okay. The experiential argument, all men and women who commit their lives to the true God through Christ experience a new life, where Jesus Christ is believed and trust, a profound change takes place in the individual. So you can argue with theology, but you can't argue with a changed life. Right? You go with all kind of theological position, but you cannot argue with a changed life. Now, some general observations. Is atheism logical? An atheist is one who denies the existence of God. To deny the existence of God, one would need to be assured that God had no place in our world, really, beyond the universe. Got no place beyond the universe. Should be. It's a typographical error. Now, when the first says, there is no God, How do you know that? You just made an absolute statement. There is no God. How do you absolutely know that there is no God? And wait for them to answer. Stop trying to answer their questions right away. Let them answer. Let them prove that God don't exist before you show them that he does. How do you know that? Well, I see all the problems in the world. That still don't prove that God doesn't exist. That just proves that the world messed up. And man has fallen just like God said he would. And he did. Right? Don't let the atheist back you in a corner. Throw it back on them. There is no God. Where you get that from? And then shut up. Make them answer. They made the statement. Didn't they? Yeah. Where you get that from? Well, hubba, 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 hubba. Yeah, I've heard that. So you want God to destroy all the evil, right? Yeah, I want God to destroy all the evil. All right. For God to destroy all the evil, he got to destroy what made the evil. And that's called man. Which means you asking God to destroy you right now. Is that what you really want? Right? Evil didn't come because of Satan, it came because of Adam. Right? So for God to get rid of all the evil, he got to get rid of what? All men. And thank God he ain't done it yet. He will one day. After he take his people out. He will. See, they have an argument. Okay. Now, to say that there is no God would imply that this person has unlimited knowledge. Because he knows something definite. That there is no God. And if I say, do you believe in a planet called Saturn? Yeah. When the first time you've been there? Hubba, 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 hubba. Well, I saw pictures. That don't prove anything. Have you been there? Before your knowledge should be absolute, you can't get it from a picture. You got to get it from experience. I've seen pictures of the Coliseum down there, but I've been there. Let me know that's the Coliseum. That's absolute knowledge. Because I done been inside the place. Getting it? See. Don't let the atheists fool you. The reason why there are atheists in the world because they don't want creation. But once you leave atheism, that's the only place you can go. Ain't no other place you can go. Atheism or theism. Belief in God, non-belief in God. Once you leave atheism, and if you're true, you're going to embrace theism. Once you leave theism, you have to embrace atheism. The two are mutually exclusive. That's why it says, you know, to be an atheist, you would need to know everything. And then you would need to be God yourself to do that. To believe in atheism, number 2, out of all the millions of inhabitants of the earth, only a handful of human beings are foolish enough to swallow the nonsense of atheism. It's absolutely nonsense. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with man. Here's the problem. Here's the reason why people believe in atheism. They don't want nobody telling them what to do. That's it. God said, thou shalt not do that. I don't care what you say. You didn't say that, because that don't mean nothing. Man wants to be the master of his fate. Man has to worship something, even if it's himself, because he's a religious being. Everybody worships something. Everybody. There's no such thing as a non-worshiping human being. They worship something. Because you were built that way. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. You might not know all the intricate details of what you're doing. Because you got a deceiver right there.
That's why they don't believe. They really don't know what they are worshiping, because they don't study the Word of God. So a lot of them believe there isn't any God, because they don't study the Word.
I mean, if they don't, yeah, but if they don't believe in God, they're not going to study His Word.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yes. But that's typical. Okay. Again, the issue is, who's going to be in charge of my life? That's the issue.
The reason I asked that question is I got a problem with a church member. She says she believes, but she does not believe God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. She says it's three separate things all together. And she came to me at church one-on-one, and we sat down and talked. And the more I showed her in the Bible what the Word is saying, she said, that's man's word.
Okay.
I don't know what to do.
Well, there's a passage in the Bible that Paul says, if a man be ignorant, let him be ignorant. Sometimes you have to lead people. But if you go back and ask her, who you been studying with besides Bible study? There's some other groups you're studying with. And I'm very, very pretty much sure, not knowing her, and based on her statements, it's your witnesses. She been reading the Watchtower.
Well, I asked that question, believe it or not. That's exactly what she said. But I'm still trying to.
You ain't gonna be able to convince her now. She's screwed up now. She's been damaged by those people. And if you don't believe in the Trinity, you don't worship the true God. You can't come to God unless you come through Jesus. Yeah, well, she'll be at the Kingdom Hall before long. Yeah, about 2 or 3 months, you may find her at the Kingdom Hall when she ain't coming to church. See, this is the tragedy of Protestant religion, Protestantism. that is Baptist, Methodist, Pentecost, Church of God in Christ, you name it, is that the people in the church don't know doctrine. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they know their teaching. But in the average church, Baptist people don't know this book. They don't know it. Because the preacher ain't interested in teaching. He want to shout you, get you emotional, so he can raise some money. And so you get a group like the Jehovah's Witnesses or the Seventh-day Adventists or some of the other Mormons come by, and boy, they got these books, you know, and they tell you some stuff you ain't never heard. Go, whoa, I ain't know that. I didn't know that. Let the Mormons believe a woman gonna be eternally pregnant. How many of y'all want to be eternally pregnant? Now notice here. Again, to believe in atheism is to believe in pure chance. One must believe that everything in this world, including himself, came into existence by accident. To believe in atheism requires more faith than to what? Listen, atheism is a religion. Don't let them fool you. It takes more faith to believe that there is no God than it does to believe that there is a God. Because you got to leap through across all the evidence. There are no reputable scientists. I'm on Internet Live, so it's going to go all across the world. There are no reputable scientists that believe that evolution is true. None. But there are those who will embrace evolution because they don't want creation. Too many holes in evolution. Moving from the simple to the complex. That's evolution. Lower species to a higher species. From chaos to cosmos. From chaos, from disorder to order. Is that what happened in your life? I'm coming apart. My life ain't coming more orderly, it's coming apart. I played football in grammar school. Now them injuries are coming back. I can feel them. They've been gone for about 40 years. But now that I'm 60, I can feel them now. You know why? I'm coming apart. So I got to take some pills to try to help keep everything from coming apart. I'm falling apart, right? I didn't need these 25 years ago. I didn't need these. Now I can't see without them when I read. What's happening? I'm coming apart. Evolution says I should be getting better. But the law, second law of thermodynamics says that energy is being used up. Right? All right. Some of y'all might not understand what I'm saying, so let me put it to you this way. I'm going to dismiss class in about 30 seconds. I want all of us to go outside and run around this neighborhood 3 times. And we'll finish class when we get back. Huh? Gonna have to do what now? Dial 911. What happened? You probably could do it when you were younger. Energy has been used up. So now you can't breathe the way you did when you were young. Well, hey. All right, so look at it here. It takes more faith to believe in evolution than to believe in God. Atheism, sorry. Francis Bacon said, I'd rather believe all the fables and the legend, the Talmud, and the Alcorn than that this universe frame is without a mind. The consequences of belief in atheism are devastating. You have no purpose for living, no reason to live, no confidence in the past, no hope for the future. To put God out of the picture is to bring meaningless to man. Man in his true significance cannot survive permanently in isolation from his maker. The current loss of identity and emergence of the faceless man in today's culture is a testimony to the effects of losing our God. Okay. You see, that's why in America they're trying to get rid of God, particularly Christ. Some of you may not be aware of what's happening. Everything that's happening in the culture today is aimed at shutting down the church. Everything. And you got preachers who don't even see that. They have no clue. That what's going on in the culture is aimed at getting rid of God, Christ, out of the culture. Now, how do I know this? I know this because of the system of morality they're embracing and installing in this culture. It's anti-God, anti-Christ. That's why they're attacking the First Amendment. And you got some dumb preachers, and I'm saying this on the internet, you got some dumb preachers who can't see that. I don't want to tell you what you can say, what you cannot say. The First Amendment says you got a right to say what you want to say. Even stuff I don't agree with. Right? When I was growing up in the 60s, the liberals used to say, I might not agree with what you say, but I'll defend your right to say it. Huh? You don't. Because they don't want you to say it. Because if you say it, you're racist, you're this, you're that. Right? Now, what is that aimed at? It's aimed at the church. Because as the Second Amendment goes, see, here's the thing that I want y'all to see. Okay, you've been hearing all this business about getting rid of the Second Amendment, right? The goal is the First Amendment. That's the goal. Never, don't let them fool you. Get rid of the guns. Second Amendment, you can't defend yourself. Now I can get rid of the First Amendment because you have no way to defend yourself. The Second Amendment was designed so that the population, the people, could rise up if that government started becoming a tyranny like some of those third world countries. It's your right to bear arms, to defend yourself, right? All right. So you get rid of the Second Amendment, nibbling away at the First Amendment because the goal is the First Amendment. And if the First Amendment falls, then who can preach? Then they're going to be able to tell you what you can and cannot preach. And then they'll be able to tell you, I don't want you to preach no more. And that's what they do in communist countries. And the sad part about it is the people don't see it. So you can't talk against sin. You can't talk against transgenderism. You can't talk against homosexuality. You can't talk against, one guy tell me, well, why y'all keep picking on the homosexuals and transgender? What about the adulterers? I said, last time I checked, the guy at adultery coming down and said, hey, man, I'm an adulterer. I want some rights. If he's an adulterer, he's trying to hide his stuff. Ain't he? He ain't out there publicizing, hey, what about adultery? Adulterers need rights. Huh? Now, adulterers, they ain't gonna, hey, look at me, I'm a proud adulterer. No, they ain't gonna do that. See, atheism, get rid of God, you get rid of your rights. Don't forget that. You learn that from me. That's free. I didn't charge you for that. You get rid of all your rights. And then the state becomes your God. And the state begins to determine what's right and wrong. And so the atheists have you ever noticed where countries that embrace communist atheist philosophy, a lot of people die needlessly? You know why? They don't value human life. Then the Khmer Rouge in, what was that place over? Cambodia. Over 1 million people were killed. Can you imagine slaughtering 1 million innocent people because they didn't embrace your atheist communist philosophy and you just killed them? Only way you can do that is you got to get rid of God. Your values go down. Now, let it be. Whose God do we believe? Assuming a supreme being or a force does exist, whose God or gods do we take? Sin has caused man to see God through colored glasses. The Christian religion does not teach that men cannot have false or erroneous beliefs about God. Once a question of God's existence is settled, then we ask ourselves, where has this God revealed himself? The true God has revealed himself in Christ and where? In the Bible. Let me give you a quote from Abraham Lincoln. He says, I can see how it is possible for a man to look down upon the earth and be an atheist, but I cannot conceive how he can look up into the heavens and say there is no God. God exists. And he ain't the man upstairs. He's God. So don't believe the atheists. There are none. They lie. And see, do you not know that if a person is an atheist, next time you hear a person, I'm an atheist, remember this, they can't tell you what's right and what's wrong. They can say that's wrong, or that's right. If they're atheists, they don't have no morality. But you'll find atheists say, yes, let me ask you this, Mr. Atheist. Would it be wrong for me to go in your house and take your stuff while you at work? Yeah. Yeah, that'd be wrong for you to do that. Wait a minute now. I thought you said you was an atheist. There is no God. If there is no God, there is no right and wrong. For you to even make a judgment, a moral judgment of right and wrong, suggests there's a moral being who made moral laws that we abide by. Even you abide by those laws. So you're living a contradiction. And we'll take a break for the next class.